Amid the high-pitched U.S. presidential election campaign that's peaking to November 5 D-Day, showman, tech entrepreneur and Tesla chief Elon Musk appeared at a Donald Trump rally this week in Butler, Pennsylvania, the same place where Trump was shot at in July. Musk even made a short speech emphasizing the importance of registering and voting. He, of course, has come out in full support of Trump, not just by way of campaign finance, but fully backing the truck, as they would say. He has endorsed most Trump positions, from illegal immigration to tax cuts, from foreign relations to abortion. Yes, abortion is a big issue in the United States. Musk has made his social media presence all about evangelism on the Trump campaign, even more strongly than some big-name Republicans. Reports of Wall Street Journal and The Guardian suggest that Musk has already spent upwards of $70 million on Trump campaign. Journal had also reported on Musk committing to spend $45 million plus every month till elections, which, however, was denied by him. What got me curious instead was the manner in which corporate America engages with political America. The ease and transparency with which voters can access information on these engagements and account for them in their decision-making. More importantly, for us watching the United States from outside, the pattern that emerges of which industries support which ideology or which sectors of economy are pro-Republican and which pro-Democrats. It's an interesting patchwork quilt you would love to watch. Top 5 American corporations donating to Democrats are NewsWeb, Alphabet, Netflix, Microsoft, and Arista Group. Top 5 corporations donating to Republicans, on the other hand, are Blackstone, Palantir, Charles Schwab, ICE Group, and Liberty. This is not a very exhaustive list, but gives you an idea of how majority donors of Democrats are new-age tech companies, while the Republicans get old world fund management and insurance backing. Specific to Trump and Harris campaigns, the pattern becomes clearer. The top 5 Trump donors include American Airlines, Walmart, Boeing, Lockheed Martin, and the United Airlines. Top 5 Harris donors include Google, Microsoft, Brown & Brown, Johnson & Johnson, and Apple. The list of top 20 donors respective to the campaigns reinforce the picture even further. Typically, old world businesses, those heavy on energy resources like petrol, airlines, and automobiles, and from the world of investment and finance, retail and real estate, are all pro-Trump. New age tech and software, on the other hand, are exclusively Kamala Harris, like Amazon, Nvidia, Apple, Google, Microsoft, Oracle, Facebook, do not donate to Trump. In the month of July, Netflix co-founder and chairman Reed Hastings endorsed Kamala Harris for president and donated $7 million to her campaign. The announcement saw Trump-based mobilization to cancel Netflix subscriptions, resulting in the company's highest monthly cancellations since February. Hashtag cancel Netflix trended for 3 days, and the streaming service saw its worst week of subscribers drop. Clearly, the disclosure comes with costs, but it is healthy for democracy. Towards the end of September, the Federal Communications Commission, U.S. government body overseeing media businesses, approved purchase of more than 200 radio stations in 40 markets by liberal business magnate George Soros-owned fund. The radio stations reach over 165 million listeners across the United States. Knowing Soros's links to Democrats, the decision drew criticism from Republicans. The commission's 3 Democrats voted for the move, while the 2 Republicans voted against it. The decision to fast-track the approval process bypassed the National Security Review, which could have taken up to a year to complete, fueling concerns that the move was aimed at boosting Kamala Harris' campaign weeks before the November 5 elections. Republican representatives James Conner of Kentucky and Nick Langworthy of New York, both members of the House Committee on Oversight and Accountability, announced an investigation into the FCC's approval proceedings. They said the agency overlooked foreign ownership concerns to facilitate Soros' ownership stake. With all the noise and the news, voters sure know who's behind the content when they consume it on those respective platforms, be it Netflix or now Soros' own radio stations. Again, good for democracy. Open Secrets, a non-profit tracking money in US politics and its impact on policy, has some interesting data. Going by donations, professions overwhelmingly Democrat include teachers, professors, software engineers, and entrepreneurs, lawyers. Both National Education Association and American Federation of Teachers donates overwhelmingly Democrat, giving a pittance to Republicans. Also, most of the organized unions, particularly in the municipal governance space, donate and hence vote Democrat. Those society groups putting their money on conservative and Republican campaign include British American Tobacco and some other old world agricultural businesses. Plus, of course, Musk. He formed the political action committee called America First. The New York Times recently did a long-form profile of Facebook Meta founder Mark Zuckerberg's engagement with politics. It was perhaps occasioned by Zuckerberg's public admission last month through a letter to the Congress that he was pressured by the Biden administration in 2021 into censoring some COVID-19 content, and that he was uncomfortable doing that. So much for the espousal of freedom of speech and expression by the American establishment. From being a left liberal in his 20s, during which he indulged in evangelism through his speeches, columns, and funding for liberal causes through his foundation, much like Musk is doing for the conservative ones now, Zuckerberg has become a political agnostic. In his 30s, he has made 2 phone calls to Trump this election cycle, and in the same letter to the US Congress, expressed clearly that he does not want to take any sides this time, unlike in 2020 when he clearly backed Democrat Biden, only to be forced by the Biden administration on COVID, and more significantly, on toning down coverage of the Biden family corruption saga involving Ukraine. Before I come to the picture in India, let's look at what impact this funding pattern has on the engagement the corporates have with society and governance in the United States. Musk moved Tesla headquarters from Democrat California to Republican Texas, citing high housing costs and impact of illegals on law and order as his reasons behind the decision. In the Sunshine State of Florida, there has been a long-standing feud between Disney, which donates exclusively to Kamala, and the Republican administration of Governor Ron DeSantis. Battle started when Disney opposed DeSantis's Don't Say Gay law, which banned discussion of sexual orientation and gender identity in classrooms, as part of the larger culture war going on in the United States between conservatives and the woke left. Disney's opposition made the Republicans bring in a spate of laws, from increasing taxes to setting up a prison next to the Disney theme park, to taking away Disney's control over the local municipal district. Between Musk, Zuckerberg, and Disney, it becomes clear that corporate America is caught in the crossfire of the country's culture wars as it grows more polarized, and firms face pressure from staff, customers, and shareholders on the left and the right to pick a side. We in India recently had our own share of election funding debate surrounding the electoral bonds issue. Traditionally, there's a certain squeamishness around who funds the political parties, particularly from the corporate side. Historically, we know how the House of Birlas bankrolled Mahatma Gandhi and the Congress Party's freedom movement. But that was for a non-partisan cause of India's independence. Since then, particularly during the suffocating socialist era of 1970s and 1980s, corporate funding had been shrouded in secrecy, giving little awareness to the public on who was pulling the strings. As the electoral bond debate showed, we are still shy of disclosures, perhaps a throwback to the old Gandhian morality, where all political players do not want to show how much of it costs to keep the democracy well-oiled, and who's paying for them. How much does it cost to organize a rally where leaders give those stump speeches, for example? When you talk in private, a typical political operative, irrespective of the ideological persuasion, would happily give you the numbers. it takes rupees 500 to 750 to cart in each person who's there in the crowds, even if they are party cadre. So do your math. If there are 100,000 people or 1 lakh people attending, a typical rally of that size would cost between 5 to 7.5 crores. Keep doing the math. 100 rallies by a political party in one campaign comes to about 500 to 750 crores. That's just one state campaign for one political party. If we are having 5 state elections per year and an average of 4 key players in each state, you are looking at rupees 10,000 to rupees 15,000 crores per year just for state elections. The general election campaign for the Lok Sabha every 5 years perhaps costs 5 times more for each party. And there are more players. If you extrapolate the numbers, you arrive at a ballpark figure of anything between rupees 1.5 lakh crores to rupees 2 lakh crores for a 5-year election cycle. And that excludes the expenses incurred by the Election Commission and other government agencies like the Home Ministry in the conduct of elections. And mind you, these are conservative figures. The actual cost, like the literal cost, could be on the higher side. Center for Media Studies, a New Delhi-based think tank, for example, has put the figure at rupees 1,35,000 crores just for the 2024 general elections. That's about 5% of this year's annual budget of India. Also, taken together, rupees 2 lakh or rupees 3 lakh crores every 5 years comes to anything between half a percentage point to 1% of India's current GDP. Who said democracy is cheap? But that's beside the point. All this money comes from somewhere, and if the voter knows the source and hence the influence, she is better informed and empowered to decide about her interests at the polling booth. That's why you appreciate this transparency. The argument in favor of disclosure or transparency is that one who pays the piper calls the tune. So if an individual or a corporation is making an extensive donation, they obviously are expecting something in return. Particularly in the case of for-profit companies, there's no charity. There's always an end, election funding being a means for that. In effect, political funding is about a quid pro quo, and it would be great if we follow the American example. Thanks for watching.